today we are going to talk a little bit about animating with stop motion. And for those of you who have been to one of the trainings, we learned this when we were in Austin. And I have to admit that when I did this station, I was really kind of confused. It took me a little while to figure this out, and I figured it out on my own. I did the station and then I went and worked on it a little bit on my own. And so we're going to just walk through the steps a little bit today. I used a lot of screenshots. This is all, the instructions are all also online as well. And so you can walk through the instructions yourself online. So I'll show you where that is as well. And I'm pretty relaxed. So if you've got questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm still learning things too. So feel free, if somebody else has a good answer and you've done this activity, feel free to jump in. I'll say I've done this activity with middle school students, and I've modified it just a little bit, and I'll talk about a couple places that I modified it as we go along, and we'll kind of talk about that along the way. So the things that you need, you'll use the camera on your iPads, you'll use the photos on iPad, you also use Keynote, and then you need something to take pictures of. So I used little plastic animals, I've used Matchbox cars, I've used little stuffed animals. They use in the examples, they've used fruit, they've used other things like that. So I think it's just whatever that you choose to have your students take pictures of. And I think that whatever you have works. I will say that I always thought that these plastic animals were super cheap. When my kids were little, you used to be able to buy them in little tubes at Walmart or like the dollar store for like super cheap, but I had trouble finding them. I ended up buying them on Amazon, and they were a lot more expensive than I thought. So just work that into your budget if you're thinking. And I'm cheap, so like expensive to me is like 30 or 40 bucks, but that was, I thought, kind of expensive. So just FYI. So you'll find this activity. It's in the education community on the Apple website, the education.apple.com website. It's in the Learning Center. It's called Animate with Stop Motion, and it walks you step by step through all the instructions. And that's basically what we're going to do today, is just walk through those activities, and then I'll show you some examples, or the instructions, and I'll show you some examples as we get to that point as well. So this is what we're doing. And this is an example of one of the stop motion animations that the students I worked with did. So just a really quick little stop motion that they did. So one of the ways I modified this activity is that the group that I did this with, the teachers asked that we do activities that went with language arts, social studies, and STEM. And so this activity we did with the language arts students. And so I thought, well, we need to make this fit language arts. And so we need to make it a little bit academic, more academic. And so I started with storyboards. And so most of you are familiar with storyboards, but I put a good definition on here just so we're all on the same page. But basically, a storyboard is just a way to think before you do. And so it's a way to visually represent what the story is. And it's usually, it can be drawings, or it can be notes of what you're going to do. And it's just a way to outline the story, outline a movie a lot of times, animations, videos, whatever it is, before you do it. And so when I did this with the students, I had the students do a storyboard before they did their animations. And now, if I had been really, really good, I would have put this in Keynote. I did not, because I wasn't 100% sure what I would have when I got there. I wasn't sure if I would have enough iPads for every student to do it, for every group. I should have put it on Keynote, and I haven't yet, but I did it just in a paper form. And so, and the instructions tell you to do 8 shots. We did 6 shots. And so this is what the storyboard was that I used with the students. So they could write if they wanted to, they could draw pictures if they wanted to, whatever they wanted to, but they had to do something before that they started doing their animations. And again, these are middle schoolers. And I really thought, oh my gosh, they are not going to do this. They're going to just blow this piece off. But I was really honestly surprised by how many did very well on this. They put some thought into their storyboards. They did this prior to doing the animations, and I think it helped them then when they got to the point where they were actually doing the animations. And one of the really neat extensions that I saw is that one of the teachers collected all the storyboards and she had them send her their then send the animations to her. And so the next day in class, they had to take the storyboards and write stories based on the animations then. So she extended that lesson even farther, which I thought was a really cool extension then of what we did in that short time that we had together. She then extended it in the class, and I thought that was really neat. So I think the storyboards, again, you could put in Keynote, you could do it that way, or do it more using more technology. I just chose to do it on paper that day, and that worked out well for me as well. All right, so let's get to what you need to do. So the first part is taking pictures. So the first part is just to open the camera, and you're going to turn the live photos off. And then you're going to take pictures with the iPad in the landscape orientation. And so they are going to take the scenes. You're going to take the first picture. You just push the shutter button, just like you take pictures. Most of us are familiar with that. You want to be careful not to bump the subject or cast a shadow on it. They suggest using a tripod or stabilizing to stabilize the iPad, or they even suggest using like a crate or something to put the iPad on top of the crate and put whatever you're taking pictures of underneath it. So that way you're not moving whatever it is you're taking pictures of. So you start taking pictures. So you take the first shot, and then in each subsequent shot, you move your objects just slightly. So you don't want giant movements, but just slight movements. So you can see in these couple pictures that the tiger has moved just a little bit, in front of the elephant. And so that's basically what you do as you take the pictures. So once you have the 6 pictures taken, so you've moved each picture or each the character slightly, you've taken 6 pictures, then you're going to build the animation. And this is where there's a lot of steps. And so kind of work them through the steps, but you have them open Keynote and you start a new presentation. And it's the basic white theme. You're going to tap on Format. You're going to do a layout and just do the blank layout. You're going to tap on Document and then Presentation Options. I'm going to kind of walk through this. I'll try to do it kind of slowly, but since we only have a half an hour together here. You're going to tap on Presentation. And then this is where I also modified it a little bit. The instructions tell you that you're going to tap change the slide size, and you're doing this to kind of match your pictures and do that. So you're going to open the menu and tap it so that there's a 4:3 ratio in that landscape orientation, and then you tap it done. I didn't always do this. The pictures turned out fine, or the end products turned out fine. So this is one of those things that sometimes it confused the kids a little bit, but it was one of those things that it was okay to do that, but it was okay if it didn't happen. So it was one of those steps that could be skipped if you needed to, but the instructions do tell you to change that ratio of your slides. So the next step is to go ahead and create 6 blank slides. Again, you're creating those blank slides so that you have 1 slide for each of the pictures that you have already taken. So you're going to tap that thumbnail on that left side and open the menu, and then you're just going to click on duplicate and duplicate until you have 6 slides along that left-hand side. So it's going to look like this. This has 8 because the instructions online have 8, but you're going to, in this case, we're doing 6 because that's what I did. So for however many pictures that you've taken. And then we're going to start inserting our pictures. So you're going to tap on that first slide. And then at the top there, you're going to tap Insert Media. You're going to tap on Photo or Video. And then you want to select the first image. And so you want to make sure that you're inserting your first image and not the last image that you took. So you're going to put in that first image on that first slide and then just repeat it with the rest of the pictures so that you're putting one picture on each slide. And then you're going to get ready to export those. So you're basically now creating that stop motion. So you're making the GIF that's going to be the stop motion. So you're going to tap the document menu and you're going to tap export. And so this is the part where you get the animation. So you're going to tap on the animated GIF and then extra large. So at this point, it's going to ask you how many slides that you have. And so you want to give it your slide range. So if you have 6 slides, you're going to tell it 1 to 6. If you've got 8 slides, you're going to tell it 8 slides. So you're just going to tell it the range of slides that you have there. So now we're going to go back to the main menu. And this is where you're going to put in the duration of your animation. So you have some different options there. At the bottom of this screen, it gives you the slider that tells you the duration of the slide. So you want to set it to 0.2 seconds. Like I said, I know I'm going through these kind of fast, but this was a hard one necessarily for us to do together today because of having to take pictures and do that part. But I at least want to introduce everybody to the idea and share what we do. So then you're going to export that GIF and tap share. And this is where that photo library comes into play. You'll save that image into your photo library. And then that is where you get your animated GIF. So that's where that stop motion lives. So I have a few other examples of ones that the kids did. And again, I was really surprised. I wasn't sure how this would go over with those middle schoolers, and they got kind of excited about it, and I was kind of surprised by that they took the time to do the activity and really put the time into it. So here's an example of the 6 pictures that this particular group took. So you can see how they moved each one slightly as they took the pictures. And then on the next slide, you can see what that looks like when it has the motion. So we kind of go back. So here's their pictures. And then once it's put into the motions, there's the motions. some other fun examples. This group wanted to write on a piece of paper and include that in. I'm like, yeah, let's try it. Let's see what happens. With some gorillas and trees. That might be some more dinosaurs. That was kind of a quick overview of this activity. I thought again it was kind of a fun way um, to tie this technology piece in with language arts, and so it was a really good way to do something tied in with an academic part of requests that we had from a classroom, and to be able to tie that in. Um, One of the things I did is I did do a handout that we used that took those instructions and kind of simplified them a little bit. So each group we had those instructions that they could use as well. So that was another thing that we used so that they could have the instructions when they needed those for that as well. So I thought it might be done a little bit early. Are there questions or things that I can clarify, or other things that anybody else that's used this activity?
Chrissy, I really liked the storyboard worksheet that you have. I think that it's such a good idea. I find that once students get this, it's really easy to do and it's really fast to do as well. So sometimes when I've gone into after school sites where I have about an hour and a half and then they're done, right? They can
Mhm.
easily do this in like 45 minutes, I think. So adding that aspect to it, I think would add a little bit extra time. I think that's really good. Um, and this is such a flexible activity. I've done it in classrooms and I've done it at summer camps and I've done it in after school sites, right? So it's super, super flexible. The biggest piece of advice that I have for anyone is try and make sure that students don't move the iPad once they start taking pictures so that the background doesn't move. The background is super important in this case for the animation. What I do is with the iPads, so if let me hold on really quick, take this off. Um, if they prompt them out like with the stand, right? I usually put a piece of tape like right here and say that's where your iPad is, and we're not going to move it from there, so that the background doesn't move. I think that's one of the things that's super important. But I think you did a really good job um explaining this. I want to share this because this is one of my favorites. I didn't do it, but one of somebody did it, one of the kids I worked with.
Awesome.
And I think that's like 12 frames, 12 pictures, but the their imagination is a limit, right?
I love
So
that.
just use anything.
There's a couple of really good examples on the website. I think there's one that's like a volcano example that's really a cool example. So you might check those out. But I love that, Rodrigo. That's a really good example. Thanks for sharing.
No, you talked about the with the storyboard idea like that. I think it again helps them conceptualize something before they actually implement it. And I think with what Rodrigo was saying, they took 12 pictures instead of six. You could probably do multiples where it's 6, 12, 18 to get that idea. And you could talk about the fact that storyboarding is the concept of each idea that puts together the whole movie, but most movies have frames per second or frames per minute, probably per second, I think. But the more pictures or the more if you had moved that car in smaller increments, it's going to show, maybe a little bit longer movie. So if you have more time in the class period, you could add more pictures and more um, scenes. If you have a shorter amount of time, then the six, gets through the concept. So that's a way to expand your time frame.